Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. So I've got a bit of fabrication and a bit of repair work to do today. And you might have noticed I don't look as scruffy today. I've got a new Carhartt jacket. So thanks to everyone that suggested Carhartt in one of my other videos when I asked about a good work coat. Still keep me high vis, there's nothing wrong with that, but I'm hoping this might be a bit more durable. But anyway, what I've got here is a pole rack off the front of a wagon. So this was on like the headboard. You got the headboard of the wagon. And this was on top of the headboard. The idea of this is to sit electric poles on it, on the wagon. There's a crane or a high ab that's in front of this between like the cabs there, the high ab's here, and then this is like the headboard. And then lift telegraph poles on or electric poles on, and then sit them onto there. And then there's another rack the same that they have at the back of the wagon. So then when the poles are sat on, they're sat across both racks, and then the gap in the middle is for the crane to be lowered through. When they've got the poles on, the crane won't fold up, so they just put the crane through the middle and then drop it down onto the bed. But what's happened with this, it's quite tall. It sticks quite a height above the roof of the wagon, and what's happened is they've caught it on a tree and bent it. So they had straightened it up themselves a little bit so they could, well, so it wasn't bent over. And then when our electric went off a couple of weeks ago, the same wagon came up and brought one of the like track crawlers up to put the new poles in. But so while it was here, I chopped it off, and then they've been using the wagon without it on at the moment. But now they need it. They need to take some poles out, so they need it sorting out. So what I'm going to do before I weld it back onto the wagon is I'm going to make it fold down. So I'll put some hinges halfway up this bit. So I don't like to pick fault with people's work, but this is not particularly well made. You can see there, they're not welded around the corner, so there's a gap there, so that'll fill up with water. See, it's cracked there, and then they've not capped the top. The top of the boxes are open, so these are filled with water. So the only thing that's stopping this one filling completely is the dodgy weld is leaking and leaking the water out. This one's not leaking, and it's filled up to about there. I've seen box section before when they get filled with water and then they freeze. The frost is that powerful, it expands the box. It's also made out of tin foil, pretty much. Like 3mm box, maybe. A nice straight cut on across the top of there as well. Yeah, look, they're all open. They're all open top. I think they've been caught on something, but I'll have to cap them off. Yeah, first job, I'll take it back outside, tip it over, and get rid of all the water that's built up in them boxes. I just need to work out some hinges now. I've got it the right way up. It has to go on the wagon with a wide bit at one side and a narrow bit at this side to match how the crane fits through the middle. I was going to buy some hinges, but the trouble with when you're buying them online, you don't really know what you're buying. So I think I'm just going to make some. So this is what I've come up with for a hinge mechanism. So I've got this bit here, which will be threaded with a nut and a washer on the top. So that'll go up there like that, and then you'll tighten that down, and then that'll clamp all that there. Then when you want to undo it, you'll undo that nut a little bit, fold that down, and then all this lot will fold down like that. So then, well, I'm not quite sure whether to have that bit on or not, or whether to have it without it. So then you put that up there like that, and then that'll butt up against that. You put that in there and then tighten that back down again. Now that bit on the side would sort of butt up against this bit as well. I don't know whether to bother with that or not, or just have two of them like that. But obviously there'll be another plate like that to go on the other side. I've only put one side on just to see how it's going to work. This bit will be a bit of round bar drilled out to 20mm, and then a pin will go through that, and that bit will be welded onto the box, and another one of them at that side welded onto the box, and then two of these bits welded onto either side of the bottom box. So yeah, I think that's how that's going to work. The only thing I'm a little bit unsure on is how much space there is between like the headboard and where the crane is mounted, because if it's too tight, this bit here might catch when you try and swing it up. So I've just cut one of them out, one of each of them out. I'm not going to put any more of these out at the moment until I know how much clearance I've got for the bit that comes and swings round. But what I'll do is I'll cut the round bar out that welds onto these. I suppose I can cut some more of these out until the wagon comes in, and then when the wagon's here, I'll be able to see. So I've got them bored out to 20mm. So I'm going to cut another 7 of these out now because I know these will be right. I'm not going to cut any more of them out yet until I get the wagon here. So the wagon has turned up, and you can see now where the rack is supposed to go. So that's the headboard, and the rack sits on the top of there. There's a crane and the cab. What I was worried about is how much clearance there was between where the rack goes and where the crane is, but there's loads of clearance there, so we're alright. I can carry on cutting out the bits that I designed. Then that's the rack that goes on the back, and then your electric poles sit on there, and then go over the top of the cab. Right, I've got them welded onto there, so these will be welded onto here, and these plates will be welded onto there. What I'm going to do before I do that is I'm going to mark where I need the hinge to go, and then I'm going to cut halfway through the box, just on the top, and sort of down the side a little bit, and then weld hinges on and then cut through the rest of the box when all the hinges are on. And then I'm not having to line so much up, it's already lined up. All I've got to do is tack them on, weld them round and then cut through the box. So I'll have to mark a halfway point where I'm going to cut it, but that might not be very easy because I'll square it. It's not very square. Look at the gap there and look at the gap down here. So I'll have to try and find halfway the best I can. So I've got all them hinges sat on and I've got a bar all the way through, all 4 of them, to make sure they're all in line. And I was just going to tack them on, but I noticed that one's flush there, but when you look under that side, there's a gap. So I was thinking maybe I hadn't welded these on square or something, but then when you put a straight edge across from that one to this one, you can see there's a gap under there as well. So obviously this box is not been welded on flat. This box has got a bit of a twist on it. I think you can nearly see it at that end. It's looking down like that. It is annoying when stuff's like that. Just makes the job a little bit harder when things haven't been made square or they've got a bit of a twist on them. I'll just have to fill the gap in. But yeah, I'll get that bar squared up best I can, and then we can start tacking these hinges on. And I'll pull this bar out and then make some short little pins once I've got them all lined up. So I've got them tacked on. I think I'll pull that bar out now and make some individual pins before I slice completely through the box. If I slice through the box now and then pull the pin out to make little individual pins, I'll have this to lift back up and line back up and get the pin back through again. So I've just realised I took all my measurements off that bottom box section and then put all my marks for where I was going to cut down on this based off that bottom box section. And then when I put the pin all the way through, I sort of pushed it down a little bit in the middle because the pin wasn't over like the cut that I did. But I've just realised that bottom box section isn't straight. So now when I've got all them tacked on, they aren't quite straight either, but I don't think it'll matter. But what I have to do now, it just means when it's folded down, it won't quite be lined up perfectly with here, but I think we're too far committed now to take them all off again and re-tack them on, so have to be all right. I think what I'll do now is I'll stand it back upright to cut through. Either stand it back upright or tip it over that way. Yeah, I'm not sure because if I cut through it now, it'll fold up and fall off. Right, so I've got this side chopped off. This folds down now. Good thing about it only being made out of light box section is it's nice and light to fold down. It's a tiny bit out at the bottom because that hinge is slightly lower than that one because of that box section being curved, but you can hardly, unless you know what you're looking at, you can hardly tell, so it'll be alright. So I will cap these off as well. I'll weld some caps in here, and then there'll be the mechanism to latch it up. And I'm pleased with that. We'll do the same this side. We'll cut this side off now. Yeah, so them orange bits, that's what I'm going to make now. I've got them drawn. I'm going to cut one out and press it, make sure it's right first before I cut the rest of them out. There's going to be another press on the end of there just to kick it up a little bit so this can't slide off. So when I cut them out, that's going to be a little bit longer. So I've got that cut out. I've cut that out at 8mm. So we'll give it a little press on that side first to kick them up, and then we'll press it at 90 degrees, and then we'll trim these off. They won't need to be that long, but I need that much to press, otherwise if there was any shorter it wouldn't reach the other side of the press block. So I've got that pressed, but I've just realised I pressed this end bit the wrong way, because that needs to go on there like that. They need to be kicked up over rather than down over. I was thinking it was that one, but the one that goes on the bottom just wants to be straight out. I don't want to press on them. So I'll have to see if I can get that back in the press and press it the other way. For some reason it's closed it up as well. It's narrower now. So all them ones have just closed up a little bit. So I'll have to grind them out, or die grind them out, just to make them back out to 22mm. These ones, the bottom ones, what I've done is I've left a tab on there. So hopefully that'll stop them closing in. It shouldn't be as bad with these anyway because they're only short, but you know, press these now and then chop them off after, and then chop these down and round them off. Make them look a bit nicer. So I've got all them ground down, cleaned up. These are all tidied up. I might put a bit more of a radius on them once I get them tacked on. Because I've taken a slit out of here, they've gone over straight. So I'll clamp a bit of box section to this one and then tack them on to that one. And then when they clamp up, I know that the box is going to be straight. So that's all them tacked on now. So now I need to make the bolt that will go through here that will swing up and clamp it all together. Now, when it got bent, it twisted it a little bit, so it does have a little bit of a twist on it, which is not going to really be a problem for how it operates, so I never bothered doing anything about it. It just means when I've tacked this on here, there's a bit of a gap in between there, which now means at this side, where that plate is, that plate protrudes into the, like where the pin goes through, which is going to be a problem. So I'll either have to grind that off, yeah, or I don't know, I'll have to do something with it, because that needs to swing round so the bolt can go through into there. The rest of them are alright. Clearance through that one, just clearance through that one, and clearance through that one, just so this one's going to be the only problem. But I'll get some 30mm bits of bar cut and I'll drill a 20mm hole through them, then I'll have to go and get some M20 bolts. I've got that ground down now. I managed to get the grinder in there and just grind some off, so that fits through there. They all fit. I had to die grind, just to say die grind a little bit out of them. Just a bit tight to get them to fit. So they're all in. So what I need to do now is drill these through to an M20. Also an M20 bolt will go through them. And then I think I'll weld the bolt into these from the other side. So then the bolt is permanently fixed onto there rather than thread it like I thought I might do. So that's all I'm drilled through at 20 mil. So I just need to chop some bolts down now to weld into them. I think I'm going to have to chop these down. These M20 be 260. They're an expensive bolt to cut down, but sort of time's against me really today. So by the time I've gone and got some, I could have just chopped these down and have them welded in. So yeah, time is money sometimes. That's what I'm going to do, chop them long ones down. So before I put these pins through here with the bolt through, I'm going to weld everything up first and then weld them in last, because otherwise I won't be able to weld down there. But I'm going to cut some caps out to weld into here, into there, and into the top of these box sections. I don't think I'm going to bother straightening these out. It's going to take too much time for no real benefit really. So I'll just weld them caps over the top of them. Same with that one. That one's a little bit bent as well, but I'll just weld them caps on the top. So they're all welded round. There's just, I need to grind a bit off the top of these. That one's, I'll show you. Just fold it down. Bam. Just that weld across there to do yet as well. So that's all them caps welded in. I think I've welded across, well, I've done a little bit there, and it seems to catch on this one. I haven't welded across that bit on that one, and that one doesn't catch. That one closes right up. Yeah, so that's that welded round. I welded them upside down when I had it on the sat on the trestle. Welded around them, and then I've just welded down round them, and then across the bottom and round the top. So there's plenty of weld. Be the weld will be a lot stronger than the box section. So yeah, I'll grind them bits up, make sure that shuts properly, and then I'll put them pins in and weld the bolts in for the latch. Yeah, so I think that's all right. I don't know how often they're going to be taking it up and down, but it didn't take much doing just with a 30mm spanner. I suppose I could trim a little bit more off the top of them so you didn't have to wind the nut off as far. I wanted them on there like that so this doesn't like jump off by itself. It shouldn't do, but I'll weld that bolt in round the back of there and maybe weld it round both sides. So yeah, I'll cut the others off now and then get them welded. Right, so I've got all these welded in now, and I've welded a washer on the end so they can't wobble about side to side, and so they line up properly. They wouldn't have come out anyway without that on, but they could slide sideways a little bit. That just makes them nice, line up every time. So that's all I'm done. And these pins at the back, I've taken them out and I've welded an end on them and drilled a hole in them to put an inch pin through. So I think I can put some paint on there now. But you can't guess what colour I'm going to paint it. Good old red oxide. So that's all them pins back in. I've given them some grease. I don't think there's any point putting a grease nipple on because they're not going to be up and down all the time. And there's enough tolerance in these to hold the grease if it was any tighter tolerance. If it did go a slight bit rusty, it'd seize up, but because there's quite a bit of tolerance, it shouldn't seize up, so it should be alright without a grease nipple. So I think I'll bring the wagon round now. I don't think there's any point in me trying to get it in the workshop because it won't fit. And either put the front in or back it in, but I think I'll just drive it outside the workshop and then work on it out there. It's not too breezy and it's not raining, so we have to work outside. Right, so this is where it sits back onto, and you can see there's a bit pressed around there, goes down there. So I think what I'll be able to do is I'll be able to join onto here and press another bit that goes from that width down to 100mm around the box section. So that'll put the strength back in there, and then I can maybe chop these bits out and plate around these bits. Be better sleeving it really, but I don't think I'll have anything the right size to sleeve it. And the same with this one. So I think if I offer that back up to here now and tack it on where it sort of fits, and then go from there, I think. The bottom of these are not great. I have just trimmed a bit off, half an inch or so. It's still a bit of a hole there, but at least it's square now. So this side is a bit more twisted, so I might just give that a warm up a little bit, put that in, see if I can just straighten it out a little bit. So I'm going to plate round this anyway, so it won't matter too much, but it just might fit up better if it is straightened out a little bit. So that's a bit better, still a bit of a dent there, but when I make the brace I'll make it come up above that lot, so that'll have to do. No point spending too much time on it. So I've got it sat on. This side doesn't look like it's matched up too bad. I can fill all them gaps in, fill around there in, and then like I say, I'm going to press a bit to go around this bit to get it above this nasty bit. And this side is a bit more of a gap to fill. I don't really want to grind any more off there, because when you measure from the bottom up to there, the same with that side, if I grind any more off it's going to be too low, so I'll leave it like that and just fill the gap in. I've got my welder on the extension lead, so yeah, we're ready to tack that on now. So I've got it tacked on, and the other side it's straight, but because it's got a bit of a twist on it at this side, it doesn't look straight. So I've tacked it at the bottom there at this side, and I'm going to put a ratchet strap around the hook on the crane around there and see if I can winch it back a little bit and then tack it. Hopefully it might just pull the twist out a little bit. So I think that's about as straight as I'm going to get it. If I tack it at that, it probably still flex back a little bit, but moral of the story is don't hit a tree. So I've got a few tacks around that bit now, so hopefully now when I let the pressure off, it shouldn't flex back too much. So yeah, you can just see it's not quite straight, but that's just how it's going to have to be now. The other side's straight. It doesn't really matter too much. Well, it doesn't really matter at all as long as it does its job. Just sort of making the best of a bad situation. Yeah, so it's just too breezy to weld the other side up, so I'm going to have to try and get it out of the breeze somehow. So these bits that are pressed here will go over there like that, weld onto this bit, and take the strength back round onto that box. Yeah, and I might just press some little bits to go in there as well, maybe, or cut some box section or something to go in there. Right, so I've got all that welded up. It was not the easiest of jobs. It was just sort of making the best of a bad situation. Bit of a bend there, but we've got that all welded round. I've got an extra corner gusset in there to take the strength onto that, rather than just it relying on that box section upright. And got them welded round and pressed round there. So that should take the strength from there up onto that bit. And then same on this side. It's not the tidiest of jobs, but should be strong. Well, as strong as the box section anyway. So where I've made it fall down is still quite high, but it's lower than the top of the cab, and you'll be able to see it out of your mirror now, which when it's right up there, you wouldn't have been able to see that in your mirror. So it might not be the easiest to fold down, but at least it does now fold down. In fact, I need to fold it down again to paint underneath where I've welded it up. Still need to put some linch pins or bolts or something through the end of them pins. Yeah, so that is them now folded down, so they're well below the height of the cab now, so it should be a lot better. So it's not the tidiest of jobs, but it's just sort of making the best of a bad situation. If I'd have made the whole thing from scratch, I could have made a lot tidier job, but it's always tricky, especially when stuff's bent and a bit twisted and not been made that well to start with. They are a bit unhandy, they're quite high, but if I'd have made them any lower, then it'd have been unhandy trying to fold them up. So yeah, I think that's the best option, making a fold down where I did. So yeah, I think we'll get it back out of the workshop now. It's finished. So this is the worst side. It doesn't look too out of straight. And then the electric poles sit on there, across to there. So the car hat seems to be holding up all right. It's not looking quite as new now. Bloody zip's on the wrong side though, so every time I put it on, I take it off, it confuses me because the zip's on the opposite side. So I just wanted to take a minute to say thanks to everyone for subscribing and watching my videos. We're at 39,400 subscribers now. I was sort of a little bit disheartened by last week's video. I didn't think it was going to do very well, but I'm just looking now, it's done 68,000 views in 4 days. Yeah, 68,000 views in 4 days. So that's pretty good going, is that? So I honestly can't believe so many of you like watching, because I don't really think I'm doing anything special or different to what anyone else is doing. So yeah, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.